If you're a gamer and you like Diablo 3, you better get there right now. Google Map of the Stars. There is a cow level. But I found a Torn Cultist page in-game that said they're gonna close at Portal soon, so hurry up. I'm not crazy. I've seen it! I walked amongst the cows and stole their royal calf, and now it's my pet! There is a cow level! Alright, back to the show. Now on the news and Facebook, I've been seeing a lot of articles about WikiLeaks exposing emails that connect Hillary Clinton to ISIS. I admit that for a while I ignored them because these conspiracies didn't really come to light until this guy started saying them.
They have a bunch of dishonest people. They've created ISIS. Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama.
I mean, the guy lies like a rug. So if you say anything that is remotely close to what he says, I'm going to discount it by default. Still, reluctantly, I decided to check for myself exactly what all the deal was. I'll let the Russian Times media give you the gist of what I found out.
These new emails have been revealed by the WikiLeaks as part of the Podesta emails. Well, indeed, this sounds like a great plan, using somebody on the ground to defeat the world's #1 enemy without actually using boots on the ground. And to you here, the bombshell, which has been revealed in the Podesta emails part 3. In further part of the plan, the former state secretary says that while this military and paramilitary operation is moving forward, we need to use our diplomatic and more traditional intelligence assets to bring pressure on the governments of Qatar and Saudi Arabia, which are providing financial and logistic support to ISIS and other radical Sunni groups in the region. The Qataris and Saudis will be put in a position of balancing policy between their ongoing competition to dominate the Sunni world and the consequences of serious U.S. pressure.
Okay, so Hillary knew Saudi Arabia funds ISIS. That's not news. Many kids back when I was in high school found out about Saudi Arabia's dark dealings through Michael Moore back in 2004. It shouldn't be a secret that Hillary knew about it. It should also be no secret then that many members of Al-Qaeda were Saudi Arabian, not Afghan, and that the American government trained the Taliban back in the 80s to fight the Soviets. Given America's super long history of doing business with Saudi Arabia, and also Saudi Arabia's standing as one of the only Middle Eastern countries to ratify the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, it should be no secret that Hillary Clinton has had deals with them as well. But I'm not here to argue the morality of the Clinton Foundation. I'm here to determine whether or not Hillary should be vilified for arming ISIS. First off, I think anybody who attacks unarmed civilians and rapes women is a scumbag, coward piece of shit. I don't care what race or religion you are. But I seem to remember a time when I saw this on the news and everybody was okay with it.
According to diplomats and U.S. officials briefed on the plans, the CIA has begun moving weapons to Jordan from a network of secret warehouses and plans to start arming small groups of vetted Syrian rebels within a month, expanding U.S. support of moderate forces battling President Bashar al-Assad.
So how did we get to where we are now? I tried to find old CNN footage that I remembered seeing in early 2014 that would explain everything, but for some reason it's now unavailable to view in Canada. Which is weird because, making my last episode, the original clip of John Oliver's President-elect Trump wasn't available to view in Canada either. It's like America decided to censor all the embarrassing shit of itself. America is like one of those people that have to adjust the focus and Photoshop a selfie before posting it on their Facebook wall. I mean, why? We already know who you are and what you look like. Back to my point, though. In late 2013, the civil war in Syria was making headlines globally because Syrian government forces were reported to have used rockets armed with sarin gas on rebel fighters that were mixed in with the civilian population. Here's what Obama had to say about it.
We have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus. That would change my equation.
Then soon after, Bashar al-Assad used another sarin gas rocket.
Little baby doll. Look at Stan. Hi there, Stanley. Hey, don't. Hi, Stan. Move that! Move that!
Oh, exhaust.
Hang on, guard. We'll have that room cleared 50 seconds. You're gonna be okay.
Christ.
Okay, I've got some bad news and some really bad news. The bad news is that the gas is corrosive and it's eating our suits.
It's all over my hand,
The
man.
really bad news is there's enough C4 explosive and poison gas to blow the whole chamber and kill everybody in the building.
So at this point, nobody knew what to do. But there was one thing that everybody agreed on.
I will not put American boots on the ground in Syria. I won't commit our troops to fighting another ground war in Iraq or in Syria. It's more effective to use our capabilities to help partners on the ground secure their own country's futures.
Everybody agreed that chemical weapons should not be tolerated and that we should do something about it. But nobody wanted to go to war either. So they did the next best thing.
According to diplomats and U.S. officials briefed on the plans, the CIA has begun moving weapons to Jordan from a network of secret warehouses and plans to start arming small groups of vetted Syrian rebels within a month, expanding U.S. support of moderate forces battling President Bashar al-Assad.
Back in early 2014, when I had nothing better to do than watch CNN and CBC News all day, I watched for almost a month straight as the politicians on the Hill assured the public they were vetting the rebel groups to the best of their ability because they knew that some of these rebel groups were America's enemies. Which is where I hit another brick wall as I tried to find the old CNN footage, and YouTube tells me this video is not available in your current location. But I did manage to find footage of former Republican presidential candidate Rand Paul trying to explain why it's a bad idea to continue trying to help in that region.
Well, the one thing I would say that I'm proud of the president for is that he's coming to Congress in a constitutional manner and asking for our authorization. That's what he ran on. His policy was that no president should unilaterally go to war without congressional authority, and I'm proud that he's sticking by it. No, and I think it's a mistake to get involved in the Syrian civil war. And what I would ask John Kerry is, he's famous for saying, how can you ask a man to be the last one to die for a mistake? I would ask John Kerry, how can you ask a man to be the first one to die for a mistake? And then we have to ask ourselves, who is on America's side over there? If the rebels win, will they be American allies? Assad's definitely not an American ally, but I'm not convinced anybody on the Islamic side, the Islamic rebels, will be American allies.
Turns out, this guy was onto something. Because one of the rebel groups that America had the privilege of vetting for military support at the time was ISIS. Now fast forward 3 years to this past election campaign, and we have this.
They have a bunch of dishonest people. They've created ISIS. Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama.
So Trump played on the fact that nobody really pays attention to the origins of conspiracy theories anymore. He took a few small truths, that Hillary was one of hundreds of politicians to vote on supplying guns to Syrian rebels, that her political career has given her a close relationship with one of America's Middle Eastern allies, and that nobody really wants to talk about any of these topics, and made you believe that you are so smart and so perceptive that you just discovered that politics is a puppet show and that Donnie is different. But I argued that we just lost a potential president with wisdom and experience, whether it would have been Clinton, Bernie Sanders, or Rand Paul, because you have a short attention span. Or you didn't care at the time that this was happening. Now, I don't know what people were doing back in the late 2013 that was so much more important than listening when the news tells you your country may give guns to terrorists. Who knows? Maybe it was worth the 24-hour obsessions with planking and taking pictures of your food or getting drunk doing stupid shit and tweeting YOLO! I mean, I do that shit too, but I can listen to what's going on around me too. It's called multitasking. Now, before you say, you made my point, Hillary has blood on her hands, at least Trump never did any of this, I want to remind you of a few things that Donald Trump, your president, promised he would do.
But we're fighting a very politically correct war.
Yeah. Well, we see that happening in
the other thing
Ramadi.
is with the terrorists, you have to take out their families. When you get these terrorists, you have to take out their families. They care about their lives. Don't kid yourself. But they say they don't care about their lives. You have to take out their families.
This morning I watched President Obama talking about Gitmo, right? Guantanamo Bay, which by the way, we are keeping open. And we're going to load it up with some bad dudes, believe me. We're going to load it up.
Now, a lot of you were probably critical of the Bush administration for lying to the people so they could invade Iraq, which is partly why you don't trust the Clintons. And I get that. I really do. But remember that video I showed you at the beginning of the clip where Donald says Clinton is the founder of ISIS? I only showed you half of that sentence. Here's both halves of it.
You watch. I predicted a lot of things you have to say, including get the oil, take the oil, keep the oil. Right? I've been saying that for 3 years, and everybody said, oh, I can't do that. I mean, this is a sovereign country. There is no country. They have a bunch of dishonest people. They've created ISIS. Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama.
When John Oliver signed off for this season by saying, let's all try harder next year, he wasn't talking to the media. He was talking to us. The people who hear this shit don't research the shit for ourselves. Then forget the shit. Then let some shit talker come out and spew more shit that makes you think the old shit is an older, shittier pile than it really is. The moral of this story? It's not a conspiracy theory just because you weren't paying attention. And now that you can say your conscience is clear because you were vindicated in your choice to not vote for Hillary, remember this. Trump said he would drain the swamp of government corruption. He has the wealthiest government cabinet in U.S. history right now. You elected a smarter, more dangerous George Bush. Thank you, America.